the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Melanie, on our agenda, there is a typo. We do not have a budget hearing today. That is crossed off. Any other additions or deletions?
No.
The one thing I would like to add, everybody's aware of, at the end of the day, a little discussion about the open position, the DA's position that the governor hasn't appointed yet. So I have an email on that. With that, our first item is going to talk is there any public comment at this time? Nobody's running to the mic right off, so we'll move right on down our agenda. We have Shelley Batty here, welcome. And for this is for the CUB, Citizens Utility Board.
Right.
Welcome, yes, and we can bring up another chair.
That's okay. I'll just kind of trade off with him.
Oh, okay.
I'm Shelley Batty. I'm a resident of Lakeview, Lake County, and I am our region's member of the executive board of the Oregon Citizens Utility Board.
I've seen your picture on the website as well. Or not, maybe not your picture, I've seen your name at least, I can't remember the pictures there.
Anyway, so as a part of the Citizens Utility Board, we're a lobbying group that watchdogs on behalf of ratepayers for utility industry. And I realized after I got on the board and became more active that no one from the Utility Commission had ever been down to Lake County to see what we have to offer and the challenges that are different and special than other parts of the state. And so I invited someone to come and speak. And I have that person here today. His name is Michael Gatz, and he is a legal counsel for the Citizens Utility Board, operating on behalf of ratepayers in the state of Oregon. And I thought that you all should know him and be aware of what he does and why he does it and what he has to offer the county. So I will turn it over to Mr. Gatz.
Thank you for being proactive and for sitting on that board. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you again. Got to become acquainted last night, and thank you, Shelley, for the introduction. I thought she did a great job. So, my name is Mike Getz. I'm the general counsel for the Oregon Citizens Utility Board, or CUB, and I'll give you a little bit in the way of background for what we do. We're an independent nonprofit that was established by a ballot initiative back in 1984 in the state of Oregon, to serve the interests of the residential customers of the large utilities in the state, specifically the large investor-owned utilities. So we help regulate and represent residential customers of 6 electric and natural gas utilities that function as for-profit monopolies. Pacific Power being one of them, which obviously serves the community here in Lakeview. Portland General Electric, Idaho Power Company, Northwest Natural Gas, Cascade Natural Gas, and Avista Natural Gas. And so, you know, those types of corporations, because they are monopolies and they provide this essential service in the form of electricity or heat, they're subject to regulation by the state at the State Public Utility Commission that's out in Salem. So really, anytime, you know, the utilities want to raise rates at all and kind of look back at their holistic costs and come into what's called a general rate case, or if they want to build a new power plant, or even kind of change the internal ways that they, you know, conduct accounting on their books. Because they're regulated, they have to make a filing before the Oregon Public Utility Commission. And so we intervene on those regulatory proceedings to represent residential customers. You know, we want to make sure that the residential folks across the state aren't having costs shifted onto them that they shouldn't have to bear. We want to make sure that the investments that the utilities are making in their system are in the best interest of customers. And that they align with, you know, Oregon's kind of legislative mandates and policy goals going forward, whether that's carbon reduction or whether that's kind of meeting certain affordability metrics, which is something that we take very seriously at CUB. You know, the PUC, the commission in Salem, has a mandate to establish what's called just and reasonable rates, and so that's the framework that we typically operate within. And to us, that really means that rates need to be affordable to end-use customers. And, we realize, we're a Portland-based group, but we realize that all residential customers across the state are not equal. They're subject to different climate variations. Obviously, the climate here in Lakeview is very different than it is in the Willamette Valley. Subject to much more extreme kind of heat and cold. Many homes might be poorer insulated. You guys, use electricity and wood fuel primarily for heating here. And so we know that using electricity for heating on top of normal electricity demand can lead to, kind of a large spike in an individual homeowner's, energy, electricity consumption, and that can be a very large part of their overall energy burden. So that's something that we work with the utilities and with the PUC and through the Oregon Energy Assistance Program on making sure that, any rate increases aren't making electricity, this essential service, not affordable for end-use customers.
I have a question,
Yeah,
if you accept them through your presentation.
Yeah.
So you keep talking residential, so does the CUB only represent residential rates, not commercial? We're trying to get we're going to get natural gas in here someday.
Sure.
I hope, anyway. And so, as we're working on that, you guys only represent the residential side, not the industry side or any of that.
Yeah, that's correct. So the ballot initiative that started CUB, and there's a statute that codifies kind of what our duties are, and that's ORS 774. We do only have statutory authority to represent residential customers. Now there are different interest groups that represent different classes of customers. For example, there's a group called AWEC, they're the Association of Western Energy Consumers, and they represent industrial customers, so kind of larger end-use customers. And there's a natural gas portion of that and an electricity portion of that. So we actually work very closely with that group. We usually align on a lot of policies when we're approaching utility cases and say, hey, these are the costs that the utilities are trying to recoup. Here's what they said that they need to get these costs back for. Is it actually essential? So we'll dig in with them and kind of do discovery in those cases and make sure that the utilities requests are actually reasonable. And then we end up fighting at the end when we talk about rate spread and apportioning costs to different rate classes. Sometimes they want to shift costs to residential customers and vice versa. So yeah, there are other groups that we work closely with.
Okay, good to know.
And outside of the energy, the natural gas and electricity work, a big part of our focus this legislative session has been on expanding what's called the Oregon Universal Service Fund, which was established back in 1999 to help serve kind of rural, and underserved areas for landline telephone access. And so, as times have changed, and we think the purpose of that fund should change as well, we actually have a bill that's in front of the legislature right now that's sponsored by Representative Pam Marsh out of Ashland that would expand that OUSF to also include rural broadband expansion. So I know that that's definitely an issue in areas like Lake County that, the way that we look at it is that internet and broadband access is basically an essential utility, much in the same way that electricity and heat is in the 21st century. You require the internet to correspond, to send emails, to check weather, basically all these components of day-to-day life make internet really an essential service as well. So yeah, like I said, we're working with, the problem is that a lot of that is unregulated, so it's not regulated from the PUC like it used to, but so we are looking for a legislative fix to try to get better access.
Do you know what that bill number is?
I believe it's HB 2184. I'm like 90% sure, and I can double check, but yeah.
I have another question. On the PUC, I was told several months ago that when Susanville, which is in California, got natural gas, that it almost broke their city because of the PUC payments. That's one concern that I would have about bringing natural gas into the city, that would our PUC payments be more than what we can bear?
Sure. Yeah, and it's a very real concern, and so I'll just, kind of from a high level, the way that utilities look at extending natural gas service to currently unserved areas is, they take a look at kind of the volume of retail sales and the growth in natural gas adoption that they would see in that area, and kind of weigh the costs and benefits against the capital expenditures that they would need to build, what's called the city gate and kind of the distribution system. I mean, I know you guys have the Ruby pipeline that comes right through the county, but there would still be a fair amount of infrastructure that would be needed to put in to tap into that pipeline and get the distribution infrastructure out to, Lakeview here. So one thing that the PUC actually took a hard look at this probably 8 or so years ago, insofar as looking at, extending natural gas service to unserved areas. And an interesting kind of test case was that around 5 years ago, Coos Bay out on the coast was looking at working with Northwest Natural to get natural gas service. They currently didn't have it either. And in order to kind of get the monies together to pay for that city gate and some of those necessary capital expenditures to get the natural gas out of the pipeline, the county chipped in some money. They had several what are called anchor tenants, so larger industrial customers that committed to buying X amount of natural gas over a certain amount of years to kind of make it reasonable from a cost perspective for the utility to make those expenditures. And what ended up happening is that one of the anchor tenants ended up backing out, and the customers in Coos Bay today actually pay a lot more for their natural gas service than most other customers in Northwest Natural's system. So it really is a matter of kind of looking at the economics from the utility's perspective, and the PUC would certainly be a big player in that. And like I said, as part of their overarching mandate to establish this just and reasonable rate structure, obviously natural gas has tremendous benefits from efficiency, from a heating perspective. I know that air quality is a concern here in the valley, so I do think it would be a great benefit, but it would just be a matter of working with the utility and the PUC, and I'd be more than happy to kind of create some contacts and get that conversation going.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
Well, there's quite a bit of work being done on that. I'm right in the middle of a lot of that work right now.
Okay.
Susanville, I would assume, probably became their own utility. It's the only way they could have lost money. What we've been looking at is to bring a utility in. The exposure would be to them.
Yeah.
And all the rates are regulated through the PUC.
Yeah.
And so that payback has to be for their investment within 3 years, which goes through the PUC approval. So Susanville I haven't checked into, but you can be a municipality-ran utility. We haven't, at this point, looked at the county being a utility and operated that. We've been trying to attract a Vista or somebody else here to be the utility, which that's in their wheelhouse. And then they have to go before the PUC, and they have to build and do the payback for the investment within the 3 years and all the things that's regulated. So that's, we've been working quite a bit different than I assume what Susanville's been doing.
Yeah, and Avista seems like it would be the reasonable utility, given that they serve kind of climate in some of the areas around here. So. But yeah, so I think, I just wanted to say, thanks for having me again here today. And, the kind of primary reason for my visit is, we have Shelley on our board who's been doing a great job. And, we realize that we kind of have to make these macro decisions that affect, this large perspective of customers across the state, and kind of have been tasked with this statutory authority to make those kind of decisions, to do what we think is in the public interest. But at the same time, it's very important to us to kind of hear from, the folks that we represent and get out to the communities, and, any concerns that you have with utility service or with Pacific Power, that's always fun for me to talk about. So yeah, I mean, really just kind of wanted to do some outreach and hear from you guys, and happy to answer any other questions, or just say that, we're there as a resource.
I hate to open up this can of worms because I'm not versed in it at all. Actually, where I live, we're Surprise Valley, so we don't have Pacific Power. You got a short version of the smart meter problems that's going on out there?
Yeah, definitely.
Look at Shelley laughing.
Yeah, so we, along with the PUC and Pacific Power, have been getting a tremendous amount of feedback and phone calls from their smart meter rollout across the state. A lot of folks, I would say, it's a small percentage of the overall rollout that have chosen to opt out of the smart meter program, but there is a very kind of small vocal contingent out there that is very much opposed to the smart meter rollout. I'll say at Cub, I'm an attorney, and we're a very small shop, there's 9 of us total. I work with 3 other economists, and we kind of scrutinize these utility filings from an economic perspective. And all of that is to say that we're not experts in health impacts or, radio frequency or those types of things. So I can't really speak to some of those effects that I know some folks have been concerned about. But we have been very involved in the nature of the opt-out fee structure that Pacific Power rolled out. And we were, very critical of their proposal when they first rolled it out. Their opt-out fee structure was, $127 to take the smart meter out, and then $36 a month to send somebody around to read your old analog meter. And to us, we've told the company, I've testified in front of the commission, that we think that's really a punitive fine. I mean, if you're gonna give people an option to opt out, truly give them an option. So we've been working with the PUC and the company on kind of restructuring their opt-out fee structure, and there's gonna be a new proposal that we worked closely with the company on that's gonna be available on March 15th. That's gonna trim that down to, instead of reading the analog meter, every month, it's gonna be quarterly bill readings, so 4 a year, and then it's gonna be an equal pay program on that. And so what that does is kind of looks back at your historical usage from last year and just divides that up by 12, and you pay the same amount every month, with only a $12 every 3 months opt-out fee on top of that. And then they'll look at seeing whether your usage went up or down, and you'll either get like a surcharge or a rebate back after that.
But you're still paying them $37.
Well, it's
$36.
It's down to $12, and
But that's every month for 3 months.
It's only when they read it, so it's only 4 times a year.
Copy that.
So it's $48 for the whole year instead of $36 a month.
Okay. I thought they were doing it every month, $12.
Yeah.
It still comes out.
Yeah, no, it's still do that. Yeah, so it's been tough. Yeah, and like I said, we've been getting a lot of feedback. It's something that we're taking very seriously, and I'm a Pacific Power customer as well, so it's something that I've had to think about too. But it's definitely been a big issue.
Well, I appreciate the update on that, because it's quite an emotional issue for some
Yeah.
people. Like you say, you don't get into the health side of it,
Yeah.
at least on the cost regulating side,
Yeah.
you guys have been active.
Definitely, yeah, and the commission kind of knows where we stand, and like I said, I've provided testimony, and, and also, it's just a matter of people, want to have ownership over their own homes, and rightly so, and, feeling like the utility's kind of coming in and imposing something on them is not a fun thing either, so we're cognizant of that too.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is your first trip to Lake County?
I've been through, so I was telling Shelley, I've been out camping in the Elbert Desert, Steams area a handful of times, so I do love coming down to this part of the state. It's beautiful. And is that actually Lake County over there, or is that kind of past the?
That's out here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but, so I've definitely driven through, and I've had a great time.
Well, we're looking forward to your yearly update.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'll have to, we just checked out the ski area, so I'll have to fit in some time to make it out there.
Yeah, it's a great year for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you guys very much,
Yeah,
Shelley. Thank you for
absolutely.
pulling this together for Lake County.
And I've got some cards here from both myself and the PUC's executive director. I only have 2 of them, unfortunately, but I can, if you guys ever wanted to be in touch with me or from anybody from the PUC, happy to help out.
Very good.
I think I gave you one of my cards
you
last
did.
night. If you guys maybe wouldn't mind splitting this one.
Yeah.
So that's from the PUC. And then here. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Well, you guys are more than welcome to stay for 2 or 3 hours of meeting time if you would like.
I think I've got some other commitments.
It's gonna be 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our next item on our agenda is the BLM crushing and road blading MOU. Kevin isn't, I don't believe he's coming in for that today, is he? We had discussion about this yesterday. Mr. Bailey, you're on the phone. One of the questions on this MOU with the BLM is make sure it's flexible enough for Kevin and the BLM to be able to do possibly other roads than the ones that are stated there if we're in the area. Do you feel like that it's covered in this MOU?
He didn't actually ask me that question, so your question is whether or not other roads, other than the ones that are identified in this, can be addressed by it?
Yes, yesterday we had discussion about that, and Kevin seemed to believe, I thought he was going to follow up with you, that the MOU is written well enough that if he's in the area and he could blade extra roads as needed, that this was more or less sort of a working document in a way, gave some flexibility. I think is under mutual responsibilities of the parties on page 2, and I think you're referring to C.
C was what we were originally talking about under mutual responsibilities of the parties, but down under administration, if you'll see under C there as well, that was what we covered yesterday as possibly giving him the mobility he needed to be able to work with the BLM if there was a road that the BLM would like worked on and he had the equipment there, that they would have the flexibility to just do that without having to go through the process of another written agreement.
Yes, that can be done, but this requires it be mutual consent and written modification. So he couldn't simply call in and say, can I go forward with this under this MOU? It has to be something in writing. So presumably that can be done pretty quickly by fax or email, but it couldn't be something just done on the spur of the moment.
Okay, so that in writing, would that have to be approved by the Board of Commissioners or between the agency and the road official?
No, it could be done just between the agency and the road official.
That makes it workable then.
That's fine. As long as Kevin understands that aspect of it, I think.
So would entertain a motion?
I would make a motion that we accept the, and approve the memorandum between the BLM and Lake County crushing and road blading as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the MOU between Lake County and BLM. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item, Mr. Berman, we have potential award of the floor down in the Memorial Hall. So yesterday you gave us an overview of, you went out for 3 quotes, you received 1. I don't know if we need much more than that by our contract review board rules, as long as you've attempted to get the 3 quotes, which you've worked very hard at, we've got 1.
Nothing's changed since yesterday.
Nothing's changed since yesterday.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Diamond Home Improvement on the floor in the War Memorial Hall for $19,460.
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the quote from Diamond Home Improvement of the $19,460. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Commercial lease. Mr. Berman, we had discussion yesterday on this, and we have clarification today, and Mike is here also on the date for us to build the.
Yes, I talked with Mike, and we've talked it out, and we figured, we come up with, 1st April would be the best bet to make this, contract,
Take effect.
In effect, thank you. In effect, just due to, Mike has, material that he needs to order before he can order, not material, equipment. And before he can order that, he needs to have an agreement in place. So we talked it over and want to make it April 1st, 2019 to go in effect, where he can get in there and start doing whatever he needs to do.
Okay,
You want to make a motion?
sure. I'll make a motion that we accept the commercial lease between Lake County and GK Sound Booth Incorporated tenant. That name may change, but at this point, we'll go under that. We'll
Right.
amend it to the new,
We can do an assignment once we get the new company incorporated.
okay?
Yeah, once we
Same
incorporate
terms,
it,
just substituting the new company.
we'll just do an amendment to the
Right.
agreement, it's pretty simple.
Right.
As presented to us, there's no security deposit listed there, at least the one I have. Do we do a security deposit?
We didn't do a security deposit on this, we just did the first and last.
And I'm good with that.
That's kind of how, we put it in there back
I just wanted to make
protect
sure
us
being that
on
it was
certain
blanket.
scenarios that we discussed 2 years ago.
Right. He's reputable, you believe?
He's very reputable, yeah, so I'm gonna let that
All
one.
right. So the motion was to accept the commercial lease as presented between Lake County and GK Sound Booth Incorporated.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion?
They just want to get it signed right now, so if we could sign that
Yeah.
right now, that'd be great, so those guys can go to work.
All right.
Is that okay?
Your boss?
Sounds good.
So, other discussion, I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you for working with SCOED, with Dave, with Lake County, and wanting to expand your business here. We appreciate that very much.
Yeah, we're excited.
We look for you to be moving out of the incubator building and building the building in the future, so
We'll need your help, we'll need your help when that comes.
we want you to be very
Very happy
successful.
to.
Well, there's lots of opportunities with SCOED and county and different things, Mike, so looking forward to working with you.
Yep, great, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Sounds good.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So I did,
Just so you guys know, I gave Melanie an updated agreement with the actual dates and everything on it. So
Okay.
she has, so wherever it is, so just so you know.
Can you make me a copy of this too?
Do what?
Can you make me a copy of this before I use also?
Oh, yeah.
Since you're taking it right
Oh,
now.
yeah. Well, we just need to sign and you can take a copy and then have him sign it and make a copy.
okay, so you have the original coming down to be signed now? All right, so while that's coming down through here, we'll get that signed. Our next item, I'm gonna jump around on the agenda just because it's not in the order. I wanted the Stoppel agreement that we have on the airport solar. The landowner is a Stoppel certificate. Mr. Bailey, just brought Dave into the loop yesterday as our airport department head. None of us had forwarded it to him, but this is just, if I'm reading it right, whenever I looked at the red line, it's just changing dates and some Scribner things. Is everything okay on this certificate?
Yeah, this is okay. This is, just so we understand what's going on, this is just something that is verifying the terms of the lease agreement that we've already approved for the bank, basically. It just it assures the bank that to provide financing to the tenant, that everything that's in the lease we agreed to. It's kind of a silly redundancy, but it gives the bank a separate document that they get to rely on. So that's the purpose of it.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it was a surprise to the developer also, so it's just basically routine, I guess, with investors involved.
It's just that financing institutions are just so cautious about giving out money. Why they would be cautious about that, I don't know in our current economy, but they are, and so they want additional assurance that everything is in the lease, we really do mean it, so.
All right, very good. So would entertain a motion?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Well,
We were looking for papers.
Okay, so,
That last bit, I didn't hear. I'm sorry,
So-
Jim. Could you repeat that last bit?
Sure, this is just, this is a routine document. It's kind of redundant, but it's required by the financing institution. They end up just with a separate document for their files that refers to the lease and assures them that the elements in the lease, the parties are actually agreeing to. It seems kind of silly, but as things go with banks being very conservative institutions, they want a separate document of this assurance. So it doesn't add anything to what we've already agreed to. It doesn't place any additional burden on the county. It just communicates, I guess, in one sense, concisely to the bank exactly what's going on with their financing. So that's all it is.
So I'll make a motion to approve the landowner estoppel certificate as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Dave, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
So, jumping around on the agenda once again, I would like to, being that Nick is here, act on the SCOAC position. So, we have a letter that we received from Mr. Walls.
Yes. Yep. Got a copy right here.
So on SCOAD and South Central Oregon Economic Development District and South Central Area Committee on Transportation, we're joint governing board, Klamath and Lake County Board of Commissioners. We appoint the Lake County representation to the board, and so Mr. Walls has retired, and he's gave us a letter of recommendation to appoint Nicholas Johnson, got his formal name in here, to represent that large position on SCOAD and SCOAC both. And Nick is before us today, so I don't know if you have anything to add?
Nope. I think I'm very highly recommended, and you made the motion, correct?
I would gladly make the motion. I'll make a motion to appoint Nick Johnson to the SCOAD and SCOAC board as member at large representing Lake County.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate your willing to step up and do that. Nick, reach out to Pam, make sure that she, will reach out to you, but make sure she has you on the mailing list. I mentioned that last week to her, but I don't know if you get the announcements for the full board meetings or not.
I will.
Okay.
All right.
All right, our next item, county investment policy. There's her Crumrine. Welcome. Budget Officer Crumrine, welcome.
Okay, so quick review of the county's investment policy. We did go through an extensive revision a couple of years ago to allow investment in the Oregon Intermediate Fund. It's a new product offered by our local government investment pool that extended maturities and with the idea of a little bit higher return, but that hasn't been what's happened in this market environment. So when we have an investment policy, though, it is required by the Oregon Short-Term Fund Board that you readopt it and review it annually. So we are not making any changes to it. It's still very conservative in nature versus the investment allowances provided by ORS 294. But we need to do the formal process of reviewing it and readopting it.
All right, so we'll entertain a motion.
Who would recommend? I make a motion to approve the investment policy as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve investment policy as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we have Lake County bank account authorization signatures. Go ahead, Ann, just quick if you,
Yes, obviously with the change in commissioners, we need some new signers at our bank accounts. So you guys have, and we have proposed that instead of just having one commissioner on, we have two. It allows for speedier processing of check signing if we need it. So we're looking at replacing prior Commissioner Ken Kestner with both Mark Albertson and James Williams.
and so I will make that motion to have as signers Commissioner Albertson and Commissioner Williams.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we have RFP for audit services.
Like we discussed yesterday, our current auditors issued us both verbal and written notice that they will no longer be providing audit services. They also issued the same notice to the ESD, who contracts on behalf of themselves and the school districts. So it's an opportunity for us to go out for RFP at the same time, with the same timelines, to quite a list of qualified municipal auditors in the state of Oregon within our region. This timeline in this RFP does coincide with what the ESD is looking at as well. So,
Did you get any more information on the one that I was asking about, or some of the info that I gave you?
no, other than I'm kind of curious if
Yeah.
that is what happened. Commissioner Williams is speaking about a firm in John Day who appears to have the same address that Oster used to. So I don't know, and Oster did have an office in John Day. I don't know what the status of that company is in that realm, so.
Yeah, but they,
We'll send it to them.
Yeah.
They can respond or not, so.
Yep, that's what RFP process is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Be absolutely there on the list, we will send it to them.
So I'll make a motion to accept an RFP for audit services.
Yep, I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to go out for request for proposal for audit services. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Whoa.
What?
And did you make that change in the third paragraph in section 10?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Bailey, you just didn't seem to be a presence here at the moment.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I did talk about that yesterday, I couldn't remember exactly, but if you guys look at section 10, third paragraph, the county reserves the right to reject any or all proposals in its sole discretion. That was recommended, language changed by Jim Bailey.
And originally, the language was that we could reject any proposal for good cause. So I suggest we change that, because the truth is, on any bids that we receive, we're not bound to accept any bid. We could reject all bids, or we can choose between the bids or among the bids, and it doesn't necessarily have to be one that is the lowest bid or anything like that. So I felt it was better to make it clear that we would exercise our decision in our sole discretion, rather than have to present any particular reason as a good cause. Obviously, we would do that, but it's better to be in our sole discretion.
Appreciate that, that's a good catch. So
Yeah.
the motion and the second still stands with that, the correction is in there?
The correction is in there, as I see it, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And one other thing, I'm sure you've probably already done it verbally, if not written. We'd like to send our appreciation to Oster for the years of services that they have done for Lake County. They've been very much appreciated for many years. So if you haven't done that, put something together.
I will extend that note of appreciation. They also are still planning to come down and present the audit formally. We just need to get it kind of on the schedule that works for them and our meeting schedule. So hopefully we have an opportunity to do it in person as well.
Very good, thank you. Now, budget, resolutions. Sorry, did you come in for the?
Yeah, did you already deal with it, or do you want me to
No,
just hang on for a minute?
We haven't dealt with
We'll do it right after these resolutions, we'll jump to that. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, resolution number 2018-06 is in the matter of an appropriation transfer. This is in the juvenile department. They'll have more materials and services expenditures than anticipated due to staff training with new staff. And then also, they are seeing higher detention bed usage than what was anticipated. Because of the staff turnover though, they have some savings in personnel services. So this appropriation transfer decreases personnel services and increases materials and services by $6,000. I did confirm the personnel services with Commissioner Winters this morning. There's a couple of factors that played into them having these savings. Again, the timing of the hire, the step paid of the new hire, the benefit levels of those hires, and also the ability on that staff change to transfer dollars or cost immediately to the adult corrections side as soon as that position changed. And so all of those factors led up to them having a little bit of savings here in personnel services.
This is the one time all those variables worked in our favor. It's very welcome. Thank you for that explanation. Welcome. So we do these by individual resolutions, by the resolution number. I'll do the first one, and we'll go from there. I'll make a motion in the matter of appropriation transfer, accept resolution number 2018-06 as presented.
I will second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now we go to the next resolution.
Resolution number 2018-07 is in the matter of a contingency transfer. This is for the Roundup Association, Fund 213. They will have more materials and services expenditures than anticipated, primarily for the promotion of the 100-year celebration coming up in this September. Also, like I said, the accounting and the administration of the Derby revenue and expenses changed right before Labor Day weekend last year, and so this resolution helps with that change as well. But it's so nice to keep saying 100-year celebration for our Roundup. I just think that's incredible, so.
It is.
This is their money, this is not a general fund exposure at all. It's contingency that they have in their own fund. All of their proceeds from the event help keep them going.
I'll make a motion to approve the appropriation resolution for the Roundup 2018-07.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept resolution number 2018-07 as presented. Further discussion? 100-year celebration.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one, Ann.
Resolution number 2018-09, again in the matter of appropriations transfer. This is for the landfill funds 224. As everyone is well aware, we took over operations last fall. We had budgeted for 12 months of operations, and then also a lot of startup equipment costs and capital. It is becoming more clear, exactly what equipment needs are there for the landfill. So this resolution increases capital by $12,000 and decreases personnel services by $12,000. Again, we didn't have any salary expenses for July, August, and part of September. So we had those savings there, but we needed it for equipment purchases. Again, Kevin Hawk has done outstanding in his research and frugalness, I think, for buying equipment and getting this operation up and running very smoothly.
I would make a motion that we accept and approve the resolution 2018-09 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution number 2018-09 as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Look at that, done with resolutions. Are we done with you, Ann?
Yes.
We are done. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Letter of Bill 2195. Charlie never got a chance to speak yesterday. This is the one that he brought forward, correct? We had quite a long meeting yesterday. So this is a letter that he put together, working with Melanie, I believe, in support of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And so I think just by consensus, we can get that mailed out. The board would like.
I think the letter's put together very well, and I absolutely no objection to signing this and getting it out as quickly as possible.
The only question I have, I'm very supportive of this letter, is I guess by consensus, we would send it out to whoever, and probably more than just Representative Reski. That's only one this one's labeled to, but by consensus, we're going to send it out to anybody, any of our representatives or senators.
Would we like to send it to all of our representatives and?
Well, I'd like to, Charlie's been working on this, at least CC it to all.
Gotcha, okay.
You know, so it might be addressed to Representative Reski, but I'm just generally talking, it's just the norm of what we do. I'm just getting it in the minutes here, so.
Absolutely.
Consensus, we'll sign it, have it sent out. Next item will be letter in response to Senate Bill 501 and 275. Mr. Williams, I believe you showed interest in wanting to read this.
Yes, if that would be appropriate. I heard back from Representative Rischke actually this morning, again, saying that if we could get it to him soon, he would present it on the floor, and it would be in the packets for all the representatives in the state, and they would all be able to have it, and it would be read, of course, in open session at the Capitol. I think we've all had a chance to put our input into it, so if there's a consensus of the board to read it.
Sure. Might as well put you to get to read this here.
All right. The letter is from the Lake County Board of Commissioners. It is addressed to the Honorable Senator Cliff Bentz and the Honorable Senator Dennis Lithicum, Representative Mike McLean, Representative Lynn Findley, and Representative E. Warner Rischke. It is CC'd to Congressman Greg Walden, Senator Ron Wyden, and Senator Jeff Merkley. It states, "We, the Lake County Board of Commissioners, are writing to express our sincere gratitude for your years of representative service to our communities of Lake County, Oregon. Many of our citizens are concerned, however, about 2019 state legislation they see being proposed here in Oregon in both the House and the Senate. Public concerns, Senate Bill 275, Senate Bill 501, Senate Bill 87, Senate Bill 5, Senate Bill 481, Senate Bill 539, House Bill 2251, House Bill 2705, House Bill 2479, and House Bill 2505. We as a board take the safety of our community very seriously, and we agree that there are legitimate concerns in regards to gun and public safety. In turn, we would encourage an alternative approach to the issue. Rather than legislate, we encourage citizens to educate. We feel, however, these bills would make safe firearm education impossible and therefore raise concerns for the safety of our community were legislation like this to be passed and implemented. We also feel these bills would not only violate current constitutional law, but restrict the natural rights of law-abiding Oregonians to defend themselves and their families. The right and traditionally the responsibility to bear arms is an essential aspect of American liberty. When exercised in accordance with well-established law, our families, fellow citizens, and communities are safer. The majority of our county do not believe that you can practically legislate guns out of the hands of criminals. When only the criminals are armed, the safety of the people is at risk. We believe that restricting our law-abiding citizens in this way legislates vulnerability, not safety. Quote, "A free people ought not only be armed, but disciplined," unquote. George Washington's first annual address to both the House of Congress. January 8th, 1790. As our representatives, please do not confuse your desire to protect with your responsibility to defend the liberty of those you represent. The best way for the citizens to be protected is to allow them the liberty and capacity to protect themselves. Quote, "The Constitution shall never be construed to prevent the people of the United States, who are peaceable citizens, from keeping their own arms." Unquote. Samuel Adams, Massachusetts Ratifying Convention in 1788. Our constituents certainly desire that you take all appropriate actions to safeguard the lives and liberty of our communities. We as a board encourage you to oppose any additional restrictive laws that encroach on the fundamental constitutional liberties and principles of our citizens, of our county, and our country. Our law, any law or regulation that infringes on the citizens' right to defend themselves, their families, and their neighbor would not only be impractical, but unjust. Thank you, the Lake County Board of Commissioners.
By consensus, sign that, send it out.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, question, I haven't researched all those added bills from your first draft.
They're all gun or ammo related.
And respective
Magazines,
magazine,
size.
yeah, capacity limiting,
Is there any about the dump stops?
there is not actually.
Okay.
I don't think there was.
No, I researched all of them and I reached out to several other people and I asked that very question. And I got a negative on any of those bills regarding the bump stocks.
Very good, appreciate your work on that. Consensus of the board to send it out. Thank you. And consensus, next item is, we're going to get Darwin in and out of here. Non-disturbance and subordination agreement. And so, Mr. Bailey, we've done a few of these, and Darwin and I had some conversation late, just before his planning meeting last night. And so these seem to be coming before us more and more. I believe it's appropriate for him to go through the planning department so that they have record, and if they're, because it basically involves land use. So Darwin and I had that discussion. He's in today. So I hate to just call them routine, but we sort of have to keep an eye on these in case there is any mineral areas within Lake County that we don't want to do the non-disturbance agreement. So I guess, Darwin, you probably have a little bit to add.
Yeah, so I just handed you guys a map of Google Earth that shows outlined in yellow the project area as these two agreements describe. Or not the project area, I shouldn't say it that way, but the non-disturbance area. Also outlined are two solar projects that have been approved. And so I kept those on the Google Earth to point out that this project area does not yet have land use approval for any project, solar project. It's just outside of the 2017 file, 17-062 CUP. There are, you can kind of see the shaded right just east of the yellow outline, and then northeast of that, two other blocks. Those are previous non-disturbance agreements. I keep a record of these in my Google Earth, so I can actually see them on the map where these non-disturbance agreements have been approved. So I took some time this morning just to make sure I map that out as it's been presented, and so I give you that map as just informational purposes. It's not to be included in this agreement, but it is.
Well, I really appreciate this, and so it begs the question for me is a process question. There isn't no CUP on this piece of ground yet. Are we getting ahead of the process? If this piece of ground did not receive this approval, do we want to do this non-disturbance agreement? I guess we do the non-disturbance agreement in support of development is the reason why we're doing it. And if we do this non-disturbance agreement before the CUP, does that lead people to think that the county's already made a decision in support of the CUP. And so I guess that's somewhat of a legal question and a process question to our planning director and to legal counsel. Seems like we're ahead of the ballgame on this, and maybe that's normal, I'm not sure.
Well, legal could go first, but if Jim wants, but just my stance on this is that, you know, the conditional use process, if they were to amend, my assumption is they would try to amend that file 17-062. And primarily because of its location to sage grouse and big game habitat, that parcel actually encompasses both those habitats. And my guess is they're trying to get closer to transmission as well. Further out, there's not going to be, so this is right close to other projects that they're working on. And I don't think in any way it you know, has any bearing on the decision-making in the CUP process, which is handled by the Planning Commission first, and on appeal could come to you guys. You know, I could include this, and they may include in an amendment application, but really it doesn't, to me, have any bearing on the land use process. Now, is it possibly getting a cart before a horse?
Well, you
There's a
said,
lot of different agreements that happen with either the landowner or, and it's just checking boxes on there.
well, you're saying exactly what
processes.
maybe I'm over worried about, is if it did get denied or approved and got appealed to us as a quasi judicial, it would have the thoughts that we had already approved it for a non-disturbance, that we would be in support of the project. And you know, once it gets into the, Mr. Bailey, chime in, once it gets into the legal people, are we okay? Is this something we can do, or does it possibly interfere with the process later on?
No, I don't think it interferes with your process later on, because you're acting in two different capacities with this agreement, and I assume we're talking about the tunnel agreements. With this agreement, you're operating as the landowner, I'm sorry, the owner of the mineral rights. With the other, you're acting as a regulatory board, so you have completely different roles, and your action as the holder of the mineral rights can't restrict what you would do as a regulatory agency. So I don't see that as a problem. The other thing I'll just point out is that, as you mentioned, Brad, I'm always reluctant to use the term "this is routine," but we get these because we're asked to agree to these because it's an assurance to the surface owner that just because we retain the mineral rights, we won't come onto the property and in exercise of our mineral rights essentially destroy the purpose that they are of their lease as a surface owner. So it doesn't say we cannot do anything, it simply says that if we do decide that access is necessary, that it will be reasonable and we'll work it out with them so that it won't disrupt the value of their surface owner rights. I hope I explained that clearly. If I didn't,
That was good, Jim. That
okay.
helped a lot.
In some ways, I actually think it's probably most appropriate that they get this first. And any other type of, you know, agreements that they need to, thinking as, you know, putting on a developer hat for a second, it would be, you know, kind of backwards to try to get the land use approval and not have all these other things in place, then thinking, oh, I've got land use approval, and then get derailed by something like this not being in place already. So, because if they don't get the land use, this won't go forward anyway, so the non-disturbance won't really matter. But, you know, it's nice to have
Well,
this box checked for them when they.
No, this
come to
goes
the
forward,
planning
whether they
commission.
get the land use or not for
Yeah,
40 years.
yeah, it would, yeah.
This is,
But they may say, you know, and then you could work on an agreement saying, oh, we don't need it, but, you know, these projects take many years to accomplish. This is actually a pretty quick process for you guys to handle. The land use can take, can take a long time.
so I'm good now since we have a process question answered. I just wanted to make sure that it couldn't be used to
Yeah.
try to,
different criteria. This
try to
isn't,
use to gain a vote for conditional use, or in an appeal process says, well, you've already made this decision, so that shows support. As long as that isn't part of it, part of the problem, we're acting in two different capacities, I'm good then.
Quick question. I'm assuming that the block, there in the center of the yellow, blocked in area,
Yep.
is that, Charles and Joyce Tuttle's property?
yeah, that's their house.
That's
So
their
That's why
house.
their agreement, I'm assuming there's probably some agreements that this, again, might become a land use area for
Okay.
solar later, that they block that out. So
Well, my only concern is, well, obviously I want to make sure that it's their property that they're blocking in there.
Yeah,
But also that's their driveway, going out, on the north end of that block. And non-disturbance, I just want to make sure that there's not going to be an issue, because
yep, I'm sure that.
through disturbing that
I'm
that
sure
area
they're
there,
taking care of
so
all
yeah.
that, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have two different non-disturbance requests, is that what I,
Yeah, there are two separate files that they've sent me that
okay.
have different legal descriptions on each. I've actually went through and mapped.
Okay, so would entertain motion?
Do we have to separate them?
There are two different ones, yes, we have to make two different motions, two different agreements.
Yeah.
You want to make the motion? I don't have that right in front of me here.
Yeah, Brad, would you like to?
But no problem.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the non-disturbance and subordination agreement between Lake County and, I guess, it has the PP, our PLLC on it, between Lake County and Charles and Joyce Tuttle. And the legal description is under Exhibit A. This is Section 30, Township 25, Range 15 East, Willamette Meridian, and it has the north 1/2, north 1/4, so on.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the non-disturbance agreement according to Exhibit A, property description. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So we have, I'll make a motion to accept the non-disturbance and subordination agreement between Lake County and the Tuttles with Exhibit A showing the property description to reflect in the minutes. I'm not going to read all of it. It's different property description than other.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Darwin, and
Yep, sure.
Mr. Bailey, that if these do become somewhat more happening, that helps for the process.
Yeah, so that map I would just keep with your copy, although it's not gonna be included, just so it's easy to reference.
Thank you.
All right, next item is Melanie. It's, we have the community corrections vehicle. We went out for quotes, so give us an overview real fast.
I went out for 3 different quotes. I'd like to award the bid to Hall Motor Company. They were approximately $100 higher, but I think it's great to keep business local, to support our local economy, and they provide us great service. They're always willing to accommodate us and get things done in a hurry for us. So I recommend we purchase the vehicle from a motor company, and they also have one available.
I would make a motion that we award the bid to Hall Motor Company for the purchase of a Ford F-150 needed for community corrections.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the quote from Hall Motor Company for purchase of said vehicle. Further discussion? Mr. Bailey, as you mentioned several times, going through the process, we're able to pick any one of the quotes. This one is just a few dollars higher. We justify that by their local, easy to be able to go there and pick it up and so on. We're within the guidelines to be able to do that.
That's exactly the kind of reason you can use to go with a slightly higher quote.
All right. Any further discussion?
Quick question for Mr. Bailey. Also, there is the matter of the fact that the vehicle is there on the premises, ready to go, and there is an urgent need for the vehicle. Would that also classify as a reasonable reason?
Absolutely. You have urgency, you have convenience, and you have the ease of access to the vendor should there be any problems. So it's exactly the kind of thing that, those are the kind of factors that you can look at and say, the price is so close that we think these things are more important than just saving a few dollars.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let me see where we're at.
Ordinance 18A.
Ordinance 18A. I brought this, well, it's been brought to the Board of Commissioners about, I apologize, about a year ago. It never got fully addressed at that time. It's come to our attention by Mr. Burt Young that Ordinance 18A does not mirror Ordinance 52. And it's on the fee schedule for licensing of dogs. And so what I would like to do, which is very rarely, but it fits this here, would be to amend Ordinance 18A using emergency clause to adopt it immediately because of this has been an ongoing issue that has not been resolved and been brought to our attention that the financial does not correspond with each other. So with that said, I would like to, I'm just going to go ahead, I'd like to go ahead and declare that the reason why we're going to adopt an amendment to Ordinance 18A. And so I'd like to make a motion that Ordinance 18A is hereby amended to remove reference to license fees. Those fees having been superseded by the fee schedule in Ordinance 52.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. I believe there will be discussion. Mr. Bailey, do you want to give any kind of overview?
Sure. In one sense, it's not necessary that you make this amendment in order to address the fee issue because Ordinance 52 was passed after this one and therefore it superseded it, and Ordinance 52 has a different fee schedule. However, it's appropriate to go back and amend 18A to eliminate the possibility of confusion. So that's really what we're doing here, and we're trying to do it ahead of the effective date of when individuals have to pay an increased license fee, which is March 1st. So that's really what's going on here, is acting quickly to eliminate what could be a potential source of confusion to the public.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion?
Just a real quick question. Melanie, do you know if we're able to scan these, this ordinance into the computer, into a PDF where you can actually edit it rather than type everything in, or are we just?
Working on it, sorry.
No, I'm just curious. All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Board, for the support of getting that taken care of. We have the minutes, 2-5 and 2-6. One was work session, one was regular session.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of 2-5 and 2-6 of 2019.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve minutes of 2-5 2019 and 2-6 of 2019. Further discussion?
Again, another quick question. Melanie, there were a few things that I spotted early on and we talked about. Were those changed?
Mhm.
You know? Okay, yeah, I have No issue, I see.
Okay, so, I probably.
I don't have it in front of me, so.
Well, we should probably amend the motion to include the Scrivener correction that Commissioner Williams talked about. You want to amend it to that, and I'll second your amendment.
I'll make a motion to accept the amended minutes of 2-5 and 2-6.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Got to get Commissioner Williams to
Yeah,
state that a little bit, earlier.
See, the thing is,
I just suddenly thought about it
Hey,
and
we're-
remembering that we had a previous discussion about it.
It keeps Garrett awake, he's back there happily.
Okay,
The
so,
lone person in the corner.
Thank you so much, Melanie.
so what I have is what I brought on for discussion, addition, did receive, an email from, Commissioner Isaac, General Counsel for the Governor, Kate Brown. There has been, Mr. John Fluvog has put his application in to be possibly appointed to the DA for Lake County. The process, I don't have to repeat it for you guys, but I will for the public, is we put together, prior to your time, interview committee to make a recommendation to the governor's office. There was only 2 applicants. Since that time, there's been several discussions, several other things that's went on. The committee moved forward that they would not support a past elected official that had been taken out by the vote of the populace of Lake County, so that's been forwarded to the governor's office. We have an opportunity to weigh in on Mr. Fluvog. My recommendation for discussion and for us to maybe forward is I believe the process now, we just continue forward with the governor making the appointment. Our recommendation is that we still stand that the populace of Lake County we support their voice of not appointing somebody that has been voted out. Just sort of wanted to make sure we had that on record, and if that's the direction you guys want to. I know you're now the liaison to the DA's office, but I'm just trying to pull it all together as the change of the boards here. Do you guys have a desire to do something different, or just let the process?
No, I think the process is in a good place. I'm glad that he finally did actually officially put in for that position, and they're aware of it. I think it's moving forward, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after this meeting, I'll send an email to
Misha.
Yeah, and let him know that the board is supportive of the direction that the governor's office would like to go, and we still stand with the populace of Lake County on previous applicants.
Excellent.
Okay, all right. So, legal updates, Mr. Bailey.
No, there's nothing pressing right now. Just as everybody knows, Commissioner Winters and I are scheduled to attend the mediation in Portland on March 20th. And we would be having a meeting with Robert Franz, our counsel, probably the week before that. I have not got anything specific from him with regard to what he's going to talk to us. But that's all that's happening on the legal side.
Yeah, just for your information, Mr. Bailey, the previous week, I will be on vacation Wednesday the 13th through Sunday the 17th. So if Mr. Franz is trying to schedule, I could maybe call in during vacation time a little bit. But I will be.
We'll probably just decide that you can go by yourself.
Well, you know, your law degree is much more advanced than mine, so. Any other open session legal updates?
Nothing more for open session, and there are no executive session legal issues.
All right, with that, I believe we have everything covered. We will adjourn at 14 minutes after 11. Thank you. Thank you, Garrett.